Hi guys, welcome
Hey,
to episode 4. Today we'll be discussing methadone.
methadone. Wow, that's a diversive topic. That's a hot one.
What is methadone?
And so, methadone is a drug that is prescribed to people either for pain or most of the time. That's not what it's usually prescribed for, but it is a lot of the time prescribed for pain or for MAT services,
What's
which
that?
is medically assisted treatment. So for recovering opiate addicts that use either Suboxone or methadone in lieu of their drug of choice, their opiate of choice.
Okay.
So it's a long-acting opioid, because it's synthetic. It's not straight from the poppy plant. And I think the half-life is 36 hours. So a half-life is after whatever amount of time that is, half of it is out of your system.
Okay. So,
It's just a fancy word of saying how long it lasts in your system before you start getting withdrawal symptoms.
okay.
Um,
So how often do you take methadone?
I drink it every day,
Okay.
but and that's typically how it's administered for people that
Liquid.
are and yeah, the way I take it is
Versus-
liquid. They do prescribe pills to people, but that's mostly for the pain patients.
That
Like
are using it for,
pain,
yes,
Yeah.
not
not for medically assisted treatment.
Got it.
So like replacement therapy, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, the pills come in 10 milligrams and 40 milligrams. The liquid, people are dosed anywhere from a milligram.
One.
Yeah, I mean, if you're tapering off, you can go that low before you jump to 0. All the way up to, I've heard of people at, I think, up to 300, 400 milligrams, which is
seems
crazy.
nuts.
It's a lot. People,
In like a day or?
yeah, they usually, if they're that high, they're doing a split dose, so they'll drink half of it in the morning and then half of it at like 2 or whatever they want to do. But if you're, I've only heard of it a couple times, and most of the time it's someone that's really, really big and close to death a lot of the time. Like people that are, usually people that are that high they don't live very long, it seems like. They're like on death's doorstep. I have heard a lot of people at like 200 though, like anywhere from like 150 to 200 is still extremely high, and they're high. It seems like they're high all the time. But the idea is, it's better than them doing heroin. So what? That's how. So originally, how they had it written in the law is there was a cap, and I forget I don't know what it was, but it was way lower than that. But they changed it because the idea was, it's better than them doing heroin. Just let them go as high as they want on the methadone, as long as they're not going to relapse on heroin.
So basically it's like,
They're getting high still. I mean, for the,
and
I
is it
mean,
like the government paying for it? Like
Yeah.
what's going on?
The
So it's like
yeah.
a free high.
Yeah, exactly.
Essentially, right?
Because in most states, Medi-Cal covers it.
It's nuts.
So you can go to the methadone clinic. If you are making under a certain amount of money, then they'll sign you up for Medi-Cal, and you'll be able to do methadone. But it saves lives. It absolutely saves lives, because also over a certain milligram, I think at about 60 or 70 is what the science says, the studies say, it starts acting as an opioid antagonist. So what that means is, when you're on that high of a dose and you try to do heroin per se, you don't feel it.
I thought you
It doesn't get through. No, not from methadone.
No, that's a box. What was the other one?
Suboxone is the other one, buprenorphine. But you don't get sick from doing the heroin with buprenorphine. You get sick if you do the heroin and then you do the buprenorphine. If so, buprenorphine it's a tricky drug. A lot of people don't really understand it. I was on it for a while, and I pretty much have the gist of it. So Suboxone is 2 drugs. It's buprenorphine and it's naloxone or naltrexone. Those are the same thing, which is the same thing as Narcan. It's a complete opioid antagonist, so it doesn't get you high at all. It kicks all the opioids off your brain, basically off your opioid receptors.
Suboxone's a little. Wait, how's it? The little thin blue.
Well, they're orange, the little
Strips?
strips. Yeah, the
thought they're
package is
blue.
blue.
Oh, okay.
But
And
the
inside's
strip,
orange.
the
Okay,
strip
yeah.
is
You're
the
right.
8 milligram package is blue.
Yeah.
The strips are orange.
Okay.
They come in pills too. You can get them in pills, but you don't swallow them. You dissolve them under your tongue. So, but buprenorphine itself, the drug itself, so half of the component of Suboxone is a partial agonist. So that's like an opioid is an agonist. Like that means it is hitting the brain, the opioid receptor, and it's a partial antagonist itself. So that's why, and it has a really strong affinity to the opioid receptors. So what that means is your opioid receptors really love buprenorphine. So like if there's heroin on your opioid receptors, and because you've been doing heroin for let's say 6 months, you've been doing heroin every day, then you take Suboxone. Technically, according to the papers, the naloxone isn't even supposed to absorb. It's only in there for anti-abuse, so that people can't shoot them up or snort them.
Okay.
But the buprenorphine, like I said, is a partial antagonist. So what happened, and it has a really strong affinity to your opioid receptor. So that heroin is all on the opioid receptor, right? You take the Suboxone, so the buprenorphine comes in, and since it has a much stronger affinity to the opioid receptor than the heroin, it kicks the heroin off and attaches to the opioid receptor.
So the heroin's off. and then-
Heroin's off, so that puts you into immediate withdrawals. And because the buprenorphine itself is a partial antagonist and a partial agonist, it will get you a little high, but not if your brain is used to having a full agonist on it. So when it kicks the heroin off and replaces it with the buprenorphine, it puts you into something called precipitated withdrawal, and so you basically go through all the whatever week of withdrawal symptoms in just a few hours. So you get really it can actually kill you. You get really fucking sick. Because it has that strong affinity, so it kicks the heroin off your receptor, and then it's not as strong of an agonist, so it's weak, and so it's like trying to make up for the fact that you had this really strong, good feeling opioid, and now you have this weak ass punk bitch opioid now. You know what I mean? That's not doing all the good stuff that the heroin was doing.
The feeling, not good stuff.
The feeling. Yeah, you're tricking your brain into thinking it's good stuff.
Okay, so back to methadone.
Methadone, yeah. So methadone, yeah, but it also is a partial. I don't think it's a partial agonist, but it acts as one. So if you try to do heroin while you're on methadone, you don't feel it.
So yeah,
It's
so
a waste.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can do methadone right after you do heroin. You won't get sick like you will with Suboxone.
Okay. So you take methadone
Yes, I take methadone
every day.
every day.
For how many years now?
I've been on it for, I think 5 years.
And you have not done heroin.
And I have not done
Since.
heroin since the first day I took methadone.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is, I don't think that happens very often. I think that's kind of a rare case. I mean, I definitely think my circumstances just aligned perfectly for that to be the case. I had gone through a lot right before I went on methadone, and then I was trying to get clean, going to rehab. I was living in LA just prior to getting on methadone as well. So I moved to LA to go to rehab. I went to a few different rehabs. And the last one that I failed at was right when I also had turned 26, so I didn't have insurance anymore through my stepmother. I didn't have anywhere to go, and I felt terrible. I was, going to be sick soon. I was going to run out of money. I didn't know where to go, and so I ended up going back to San Diego. And my grandma let me stay on her couch for a few days, and I talked to my mom, and she had recently met someone who runs a methadone clinic in San Diego. My mom worked for the place she worked, ended up connecting her with this lady, and I remember the lady told her, if your son ever wants to try methadone treatment, let me know and I'll set him up. And I had always been opposed to methadone.
Why?
Because you hear horror stories about how hard it is to get off of, and a lot of clinics don't do it right, and they're grimy, and there's a lot of drugs being dealt around them.
So there's a lot of stigma around.
There's a lot of stigma around methadone for sure. There's a lot of false information as well about it gets into your bones and all this other which is false. It has really bad muscle aches when you get off of it. It's one of the worst opioids to kick on its own, because it has such a long half-life. But I ended up, I didn't have any other options. I had tried pretty much everything else, and I had never tried methadone treatment, so I tried it.
Talk slower.
Okay. And so she drove me up to a clinic, and I remember I was sick. I was dope sick, and
What does dope sick feel like?
I had a runny nose. My stomach hurt.
Because the drugs are coming out of your system, or because what? Tell me
Yeah.
again? Okay.
Yeah, it's just like the first few days after you don't have any. Your body's just so used to having it, and it's basically like screaming for it. Your whole body's like, we need more of that, or you're gonna die. It's like trying to trick you into thinking you're gonna die.
So how do you feel?
Muscle pain. My back hurts really bad. Can't get comfortable at all. Can't sleep.
Chills.
And chills, cold sweats, yawning all the time, eyes watering. Basically feels like having the flu really bad. A lot of anxiety. And
So you're
so
feeling horrible.
feeling horrible.
Let's
And
try
so
methadone.
I cave in because I know it's going to get me well at least. And so I go up. My mom takes me up there, and it takes me probably 2 hours to fill out all the paperwork and to see the doctor they have there. And they give me like half of so I ended up getting like 30. So first they drug test me, and I'm dirty for like everything because I was doing like a bunch of shit in LA. I don't even know what I was doing. And so he prescribes me 30 milligrams, and I take like half of it and then have to wait like a half hour and then take the other half to make sure it doesn't I don't have a bad reaction or whatever. I just remember leaving the clinic, and I went to a restaurant with my mom, and I felt normal. I could function like I was useless.
After it all set in.
Yeah, after it all set in, I didn't feel dope sick at all anymore. And when I'm going through withdrawals, I feel useless. Like I feel like I can't even
Hold a conversation, do normal things day to day, right? Because you're so sick.
walk.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
anything.
Your brain, everything.
There's nothing I can do. I can't work, let alone, yeah.
You just lay in bed and pray and it's getting worse and worse and worse, correct?
And even after it starts to get better, it's like I haven't slept in so long that my mind will start tricking me into it's not any better, Like I'll be thinking it's not any better, even though it probably is. And it just seems like it never ends. Because there's always a little of it lingering that's tricking me into thinking it's
The
still
pain
as bad.
or just your mind?
Some symptom,
Yes.
whether it's the chills or
Anxiety.
anxiety's always there. I'm always cold. Like I'll be cold for months afterwards. I can never get warm. It's like cold down to the bones.
It's bizarre.
It sucks. So yeah, I left there, and I felt so much better. And I knew that this clinic wasn't like other ones that I had heard about. I had never been to a clinic myself, but I'd heard a lot about other clinics. And the people that work there will try to get you to get as high in milligrammage on methadone as possible to get you hooked. And it won't really give you any counseling or anything like that. As opposed to where I go, they're very involved in not only how much you're dosing, but making sure that you meet with a counselor once a week who you have throughout the whole time you're there, and help people get jobs, help people get out of homelessness if that's their issue, but really work with people rather than just say, here's your drugs and get the fuck out of here. And so that's the big difference between the clinic I go to and the way that you hear clinics run. The way I've heard of other clinics.
Would you say it's just in California, or would you say that's everywhere all over
I would
the
say
United
that's-
States, or,
The stigma runs nationwide that's how these clinics operate.
Interesting.
That's the the cliche methadone clinic story.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so when I first did methadone, the first time I did it, I never relapsed on heroin because I stuck to the protocol. So when you first start getting it, you have to go to the clinic every day to dose. They don't give you any take homes. They don't give you any to hold in a box or anything. So I would have to go every single day.
That seems pretty
Tedious.
definitely.
Yeah, but it gave me something to do every day. I didn't have anything else going on.
Remaining sober.
Yeah, and it gave me some place to check in with every day.
That's nice.
And when I was first doing it, honestly, when you first get on methadone, you do feel it. Like I did feel not, I mean,
High?
I wouldn't really necessarily call it high. I guess it's a little high for sure, but it's just like good. You just feel like energized and warm and I sometimes I would get like a little because I chased that feeling. So like as you start taking it every day, obviously you're gonna start building a tolerance to it, and so I kept going up and up and up in my milligrammage. I took it all the way up to 100 milligrams from 30. And by
Would you say that's addictive or
oh,
what?
for sure it's addictive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's absolutely addictive. It's still an opioid. And when I was up at 100 milligrams, I would drink it and like take a nap at like 1 from like 1 to like 2 or 3, so like a 2 or 3 hour nap, or like 1, 2 or 3 hour nap.
So you're staying off heroin, but you're still kind of not being
I'm not doing shit
your
with my
average human sober.
life. Yeah, I'm not being productive
life.
at all.
Right, yeah.
And I'm taking like a 2 or 3 hour nap every day, and I'm sleeping like 10 hours at night because I'm on so much.
So then,
So eventually I had to obviously take it back down to, I'm at 30 milligrams now.
over the
And
years.
and it's a night and day difference between someone getting way too much. I don't think it's effective it's effective for some people that high, if they can, if you have the tolerance that high and you can be productive, but it just doesn't work for me that high. I just need basically the lowest amount that will keep me well for 24 hours and doesn't intoxicate me at all.
So do you ever see yourself getting off of methadone?
I do, yeah. So I've been coming down every month. I go down a few milligrams. Hopefully within the next year, by about the summer of 2022, I should be off.
Completely.
Off completely,
And
yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Excited.
You can live day-to-day normal life without having...
Yeah, as long as I titrate, so as long as I take the milligrams down slow enough and I don't get dope sick, that's really the only issue. Once
So
I'm
you'll taper off eventually.
Yeah, exactly. Slowly but surely.
Sounds like a plan.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've there's been different times that while I've been on methadone, I've looked at it like a ball and chain. Like it's holding me down, and I don't like that feeling.
Because essentially you can't even really go anywhere, say if you have to get it every single day, you can't really even really leave anywhere without having to
Yeah, especially when
check
you're
in
getting
every
it,
single day.
when you're getting it
Correct?
every day, for sure. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
And so it takes, I think if I remember correctly, you do that for a full year.
That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
It's a lot, I know. It's either 6 months or a year. I think it's a year. And then you get weekends. So then you just get Friday or Saturday and Sunday. So you go on Friday, they give you Saturday, Sunday, and then you go back Monday.
That's crazy.
And
So
then
regulated because it's so addictive. It is addictive.
it is. It's a
Yeah.
very strong drug. And then after that, you get 3 days. So you get Friday, you go Thursday, they give you Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then you go back Monday.
Suboxone, they'll give you like what? I think
Suboxone, you can get prescriptions.
like a month worth.
Yeah, you
I
get
think
like
like
you get it
that.
from the pharmacy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, but methadone is a lot different. I think because Suboxone's a lot newer. They've been doing methadone treatment since I think the 60s, maybe 70s. But yeah, it's very controlled, and I think it takes. You have to be on it for a full 2 years with no. So they drug test you obviously at the clinic. 2 years without any dirty drug tests before they start giving you the full month worth of take homes. So that's what I get now. I get 27 take homes.
You're trusted with it.
I'm trusted because I've been peeing clean and haven't, done anything
Yeah.
shady.
So other than methadone, what could have kept you from doing heroin?
I don't, it's weird to think about that. I think that,
Because I saw something about like some documentary on, holistic, the what's it called?
Are you talking about Ibogaine?
No, I'm talking. Well, no, not that. Well, I mean that as well, but I'm thinking like they said acupuncture.
Like okay.
Completely different route. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I watched thing on. Did they? Well, like.
I haven't heard about that.
We'll watch it.
So what did they talk about? They said what? It takes away the cravings, the dope sickness, what?
It takes away, yes, the withdrawals, the dope sickness, all of it. So they go, I think they go like every couple of days. They put these little pins, acupuncture. This is back in, so the documentary was like based in Queens, New York, all that place, and people that were coming down off heroin during that time they would go. It's an old documentary. It's interesting, but. They would go get their little, pins and the little needles in their ears, all over their ears, and then leave with them. And they said it completely took away getting off heroin, like the cravings, the dope sickness, like, just getting off of it. All completely. Of it comes, everything comes with it. And people were actually staying sober.
That's interesting.
I think it was like in the 80s, right?
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Like
I haven't heard about that.
Harlem, all the yes, it's good.
That's crazy.
It's
yeah.
Good. We'll watch it.
I mean, I'm sure that there's other holistic ways that people have succeeded in doing it. It seems like with a lot of these alternative routes that aren't prescription drugs, because obviously big pharma can make money off of all these drugs, and a lot of it, I think they want to hide other ways that people get clean. You know. I do.
Old Chinese medicine.
That's like kratom too. Kratom is a plant, and they don't like the fact that people could just grow their own plants. And so they're trying to make it illegal.
Okay, but yeah, no.
But any of
holistically,
the one I was talking about is also natural. You know what I mean? It's a hallucinogen that totally takes care of dope sickness, and people that have done it,
completely.
They don't want a lot of anecdotal evidence suggests that it has gotten people clean completely. Like, it's not a fix-all, but that combined with therapy and everything else afterwards does keep people clean.
They are comparing it to the ayahuasca. Right?
Ayahuasca, yeah, exactly. So DMT.
What was the thing you said prior that I thought?
Ibogaine, yeah. That's what I was talking about. So Ibogaine is a plant from Africa. Oh, yeah. It's a root from the iboga plant, and it's a hallucinogen, and it's very strong, and it's a very intense trip, but it acts as some kind of opiate antagonist, so it takes care of your dope sickness. So you trip balls for, you hallucinate really hard for, I think, 12 hours. But when you wake up, you're not dope sick anymore. The withdrawals are gone. And supposedly, this is, again, anecdotal. I don't think there's been any actual studies on it. But people wake up and they don't want to do heroin anymore. They don't want to drink anymore. They don't want to do drugs anymore. They want to live a clean spiritual life and all this other shit. So it really gets you in touch with your spirituality. Yeah. It's an interesting alternative route anyway. It's not drugs, I would only suggest methadone if I feel like it's like the last stop, I really feel like AANA is the first route to take. And
detoxing off all that stuff is horrible, correct? Most people have to be like
off of methadone? No,
I mean just off heroin or
absolutely.
Opiate,
I think that and I'm talking about MAT treatment, so like doing it every day forever. If you're just going to use it to detox real quick, I would do it. I would suggest that's fine. Like doing Suboxone or methadone for a few days and then getting off of it, like tapering off within a few days, like they do a detox with either buprenorphine or methadone. I would definitely suggest that. But staying on it for long term, I wouldn't suggest until you're ready to pull out all the stops, because it's very addictive and it's very hard to get off of, and it's a long term thing to sign up for.
Long term.
I've been on it for 5 years.
I know. That kind of seems bizarre.
Yeah, I definitely have been. Well, yeah. I mean, I had to fix a few other demons, before. But now, I'm on 30 milligrams, and I'll get off within the next, like I said, about a year.
Sounds good.
But
live a free life.
Yeah, then
not tied to anything.
Not tied to anything.
Wake up every day.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I mean, I think it saved my life, and that's the main thing,
Absolutely.
So. Anyway, I guess that's all we have to talk about methadone, right?
Guess so.
Don't do it unless you have to.
Methadone. But is an option.
It is an option. It's something I'd look into if you're
truly
addicted to heroin and can't stop, or addicted to opiates and can't stop.
Some another alternative
It's a harm reduction route.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, well.
I got a good clinic. Hit me up. I'll shoot you the right way.
San Diego.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll be coming out with another one soon. And I hope you listened. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you get something out of the next one.
Thank you.
See you guys.